Hello, everybody, and welcome to the eighth installment of What's in Your Earbuds. I can't believe we're getting that close to episode 10. Now, it's been a minute since we've seen you guys. I think maybe 3 weeks since we had Elliot on the show. Joe and I took a week off to go attempt some really big races. There's going to be more conversation on that at our DNF roundtable if that gives you any hint on what happened. Our journeys. We're both still kind of on the mend, so excuse the brain fog. But we're excited. Like being a part of this really is some of the best time of our lives and one of our favorite parts of what is usually our standard rest days. So really excited to get this thing rolling again and go back with the basics. How are you doing, Joe?
I'm doing pretty good. No complaints. Like we talked about the green room. I had like a little post race like sickness I'm kind of dealing with, but I'm glad to be here. So yeah, doing pretty good. How about yourself, Owen?
Man, I feel pretty good. Still kind of out of it a little bit, but starting to feel like a normal human being again, which is probably a good sign. And man, it's so funny. Like I feel like this week is more important to music than any of the other weeks have been in training. I feel like I've been listening to such a spectrum of music since the end of my race. And I don't know if it's been the same for you. I guess, I think that music is the gateway to our soul, like we talked about. And I think that maybe a lot of it has to do with it sort of being a part of like the process of processing, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree with that. Yeah, if you're like kind of going through something, sometimes music will kind of help you unpack that or like help you process how you feel about stuff. And absolutely agree with that sentiment.
Uh, so before I ask you about what's been in our earbuds recently, there's a song that I discovered when I was at the Moab that took me by storm. If you haven't heard, there is a such thing as like Mongolian howling music. And there's a Mongolian metal band. Now, these artists got their, I did some digging. These artists got their degrees at like the Mongolian, like conservatory or something like that, or like a Mongolian classical music institute. So they're like classical artists, but they're playing like these instruments that are like traditional Mongolian instruments. They're singing a song that apparently has been a Mongolian like battle cry since like probably like centuries and centuries ago. Like this is a song that you do not want to hear somebody saying, "Look, there's a pony too," you know, like. Um, the song is called Wolf Totem, and it's by The Who, not that Who, but it's the HU. I actually have it pulled up. I actually have it pulled up here. I'm gonna actually see if this works. This might not. I'm trying to. This is the problem with me is I'm trying to experiment with the feature while I'm on the show right now, but I was trying to do a screen share. Um, oh, there you go. I found it.
Oh, rad.
So, look, I actually have
Ah,
it pulled up. I don't know if this is going to play the sound. Tell me if this plays the sound, Joe. But I just want to show them this part. Play the sound.
oh man, the song is so badass.
I like how they
The
have.
video
Like,
gets me. Yeah. Oh man.
it's just so damn cool.
Wait, is he playing?
Yeah,
Whoa, with like an oboe or something? What?
it's.
That's super wild.
I don't know
That is
what it is.
wild.
Like it's like a traditional instrument. So like the one guy has like something that looks like a bass guitar or whatever, and he just starts strumming that thing, and you're just like, oh yeah. And then the other guy's got like a violin, like oboe kind of thing, but it's like
Yeah.
it's got like this like dragon or something on it.
When you sent me that link, like I think you sent it through me through text or something. So like when I hit play, it wasn't like on my normal Spotify. And I was at work, and I was just like kind of doing my thing, and I realized I just like kind of let it play. Like it just kept looping that same song over and over again in my earbuds that day. And I'm just like, I was just really getting into it. I'm like, I want this to be the song of my soul. Like it just got me so fired up. So yeah,
Dude,
it's an absolute banger.
I gotta tell you, the moment I heard that song, I said, "This is my comeback song." Like, this is the song that when I was down, like, music has such a great way of like lifting you up when you're down. Like, this is the song, like, as corny as it sounds, that like lifted me out of the rut that I was in, and like was just like, no more time to sit down, time to get up and like start training again. It's like a song that I could see myself like playing over like an Aum training montage, a winter training montage, like
Yeah,
just
yeah,
like running on the track and then making the comeback.
yeah, absolute banger. That song gets me fired up every time.
Man, that actually brings up a really good topic. And I think I just put it out there right now. And I think we should ask our audience this too. What is a song that you would want to have your training montage to? Like, what is your comeback or like, what is your I'm coming back with a vengeance song? Do you have any?
Absolutely, man. Comeback songs. I love the 11th Hour by Lamb of God. That to me seems like a comeback song. Yeah, I want to hear other people's suggestions too. That is a damn fine question that you just brought up. Comeback songs.
Oh,
Yeah, I want
man.
to. We'll have to drop that in the next playlist suggestion. Yeah, if anybody has those, I want to hear them from everybody.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know, we do have a everyday athlete playlist. I'm going to post a link a few times this week so that everybody can contribute. If you also want the link directly, you can always just message me or Joe or Run Try Mag on Instagram, and we'd be happy to share the link with you. It's for everybody to contribute. There's so many great songs, and we put this question out to you, audience. What is your comeback song? Um, for me, man, like I always like I know it sounds cheesy and cliche, especially since like it's been made mainstream by Goggins, but Going the Distance from Rocky is definitely like I honestly always think about like Rocky like being knocked down in that like second to last round and getting back up and Apollo just looking like he lost his soul. Like I see that like underdog spirit.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that whole training montage is at Rocky. What Rocky is Rocky 2, right? Against
I think
the Rut and what he's in Russia. Why am I not thinking of this? Sorry, my brain is foggy. Obviously,
the one where he fights the Russian.
yeah, and I'm obviously blanking on that on a live podcast. But it's so good, that training montage and the song. It just gets me fired up every time.
That's a good one. I think I had shared with you. I mean, that whole soundtrack is fire. The Rocky Four
Yeah,
soundtrack. It's got that training montage. It's got that Hearts on Fire song. Um, Eye of the Tiger is a classic. And then I think I remember sharing. I hadn't heard it as frequently. I don't think it was actually in the movie, but when I reheard "Man Against the World," that song really stuck out to me, and I played that tune more than once when I was like trying to overcome the odds at my race.
I actually went musicless for my IT 100 attempt. I just couldn't like, for some reason I never got my earbuds out, but like I was kind of, I mean, I was started struggling pretty early, and I don't know why. Just music didn't. Normally, if I'm struggling, music's my go-to. But I was just trying to be like so present with what I was doing, even though it was like miserable the entire time. Um, but yeah, I've been digging deep into some, and a lot of it's been podcasts. So like obviously we touched on it. We had it. We neither one of us really had like probably the race we wanted. I DNF'd the IT 100. So I've been kind of going back to the drawing board on some podcasts about 100 milers. So that's kind of what's been in my earbuds, I guess, is just some podcasts with 100 milers. I was just trying to dig deep and go back to like some of the basics on like Trail to 100. I've listened to those episodes. I don't know how many times over again. It always seems like a good go-to. Because Jacob and Melody Bateman, they have such a good, vibe on their podcast. So
Yeah, shout out to Jacob and Melody, both of whom have told their story on our platform, and we've been on each other's respective shows probably a while back, but really love what they put out and really love the way they try to bring in stories that introduce people to the 100-mile distance and try to bring them towards it. And yeah, that's a great show. For me, when it comes to podcasts, I actually listened to more recently the Phase One podcast by my friend John Fisher. It's a pretty new show. He just did his first 200. It's all about like mental health and running, and I would encourage you guys to go check it out. There's a great episode in there where he actually records a conversation he's having with a sweeper, my friend Phyllis Stanley, and it's one of the most raw conversations I've ever heard. So that's a good one. I also had the Book of Joy audiobook on. I don't know if you've heard of that one. Book of Joy is basically the story of conversations between the Dalai Lama and Archbishop Tutu, and it brought me. I think sometimes when I'm in a rut, like it having something calming and soothing, like a conversational type of audiobook, actually helps me find a flow again.
nice. Yeah, I've heard you discuss it with Jason before, but I'll have to actually dig into that.
Yeah,
Sounds right up my alley.
yeah. That one. There's one takeaway I had from that one. I mentioned it on the owner's special, and it came at the right time. It said that you can't appreciate. It was something like you can't appreciate things in life without suffering. Um,
Oh,
and
nice.
they had, not to get too deep and dark, but one of the Dalai Lama had mentioned that some of the Tibetan monks who were in torture and were in prison said that they had their best meditative practices while they were in their worst suffering. Um, and I thought about that. That actually hit me deep in the race, and I thought, like, man, like, would you have the growth? And I pose this question to you: would you have the growth that you have now if it wasn't for the sufferings you went through?
Yeah, absolutely not. And if anything, it's like, would you appreciate it? I mean, I don't know if like kind of tasting failure makes success feel like so much sweeter. I guess if that makes sense what I just said. But
Yeah,
so yeah, absolutely not. I certainly don't think I would.
yeah, definitely. I don't think that I would value my victories as much if it wasn't for the DNFs that I had, and I've done now. I've done now over 30 of these ultras, and I've DNF'd 5 of them, like couple 100 milers, a stage race, a couple Moabs. Moab is my white whale. So, um, it just, I don't know that I would value my victories the same if I had a 30 for 30 record. Like it just makes the victories feel that much more special.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we got to come back, Kevin, for us. So yeah, we're gonna have to we'll have to dig deep for some comeback songs too for the next episode.
Yeah, and we're gonna have to reel ourselves back into music here because this is all great conversation for Thursday for
Yeah, yeah,
next Beyond the Finish Line episode, which is going to feature. I haven't met him. His name's Albie, right?
yeah. He just chimed in on the conversation. I was kind of looking for people maybe I never talked to before for this, so it'll be kind of cool having someone kind of new on the show. He's new to the community as far as I can tell. Yeah, Albie Day. So shout out to him. Thanks for just chiming in. So I saw that he was on another podcast. Let's run it again, which they that podcast kind of specializes in races that don't go the way you want it to. So yeah, I think that's kind of cool that they have that podcast dedicated to that. I think that's really special. So we're gonna have Albie on, and then Ohm, obviously you, and then me will be there, and then Jason Bahumandi is going to step on. He sent me his respectful list of DNFs. So I feel like he's going to have a lot of good stuff to say, and obviously I always value his input on success and failure, and like his perspective of those things is super refreshing. So I can't wait to, and I want to have some laughs too. Like maybe we can kind of turn our frowns upside down for this episode too. I'm really looking forward to it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm excited for that episode. It's going to be great. Let's turn ourselves back over to music.
Yeah.
And man, I got to tell you, like, I had a good laugh when I was out there at Moab on the first night because I saw the full moon and I was thinking about what Elliot said in the last episode about the full moon. And I was out there like looking, it's even on the second night because I was thinking about me and Jason were out on trail together, and I was even in my worst moment, I was like, man, I wonder how Joe is doing. Um, it's Elliot's birthday, like, and
Yeah.
it was a full moon out. Like, I was like, how could he have ever guessed that? Like, it brought me back to not only your conversation, but some of the songs that Elliot's been sending. I'm just gonna pull it up here, but so if you guys don't know, me, Elliot, and Joe have like a little text group, just like me, Joe, and Adam Toure have a text group, and it's all centered around music. But man, he sent a few of his suggestions from the last episode. If you didn't catch it, he's got he sent the Werewolf Bar Mitzvah song.
It's so
That
good.
Oh my god, the Werewolf Bar Mitzvah song is gold. Like, um, man, what are your thoughts on that song, Joe?
It's what's weird is I watched 30 Rock. I'm like, how did this episode skip past me? It's hilarious, and I went back and rewatched that episode too recently. It is hysterical.
It's so dang good, man.
It definitely got added to the network playlist. We have a lot of new songs in there actually. That kind of impressed with this play. I think we got 3 hours on this playlist. 5 hours. Okay, wow. This playlist is ever growing. But Werewolf Bar Mitzvah has a home there now.
It sure does.
Well, I'm going now. Is there anything else you want to say, Tracy?
Yeah, I miss you, Grizz.
Man, it never gets old. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go through and rewatch 30 Rock all over again now.
Boys become men, man. Men become wolves. Now, could you see yourself mowing the lawn to that?
Oh man. Hopefully I'm done mowing the yard for the year, but if I do have to go again, I will certainly put that on.
I did. Before I ask you another question, I have to put it out there that I was sweeping the floor and doing my chores to the Wolf Totem song.
Oh, nice.
It got me pumped up for everything, man. I'm telling you, as soon as that drums hits like behind that like whatever instrument the guy's got, like the bass, I'll have to get the official names. I'm just like not bumping my head like this. I'm on Spotify. Like, when are these guys playing a live show while sweeping the floor and doing the dishes to the beat? That's why we call this episode "Back to the Beats."
Yeah, it's just so good. I think I was like stuck in the lab that day. So I was like alone in like this lab, and I was just like, oh, like, and then I forgot it was like replaying. So, cause I had like, nitrile gloves on, so I couldn't really change the song. I bet it played like 3 or 4 times in a row or something. But
Oh man. um, I have to ask you because one of the things you did when you got back from the IT Trail 100 is you were back to doing woodworking, which is a big part of
oh
what
yeah.
which is a big part of who you are, what you do. Shout out to HT Hardwood Designs. I and big shout out to what you guys are going to see is our brand new intro for Beyond the Finish Line on Thursday, which is going to show a big part of who Joe Hardin is. But I have to ask you, like, when you're doing your woodworking, are you listening to music, and what are you listening to?
Oh, absolutely. So whenever I'm woodworking, I go to like a different total I'll get into like the Devil Makes Three. I don't know why they're so good in the wood shop. And then I'll do like a lot of Billy Strings. I'll do a lot of Tyler Childers. There's just like certain woodshop music that makes sense. For some reason, the Devil Makes Three is always on that list. And then like Radiohead's one of my favorite bands of all time. So obviously that'll make it's like I have like it's weird. Like the music I listen to, running and lifting and woodworking is like three different people. So yeah. When I'm woodworking, I definitely got some tunes on. The Devil Makes Three has been on rotation a lot out in my wood shop quite a bit, and Billy Strings too. But
Oh man, that actually, given like the videos and everything I've seen, that makes a lot of sense. I would imagine like the beats and everything and what you're listening to just varies with the activity and what you're doing, and I'm sure it's kind of like the kind of music that gets you into a flow state, kind of like how there's certain music in running that gets you into a flow state.
yeah, it's a totally different temp. Like woodworking is kind of like it's kind of you have to slow down to go fast in woodworking, if that makes sense. There's a lot more finesse to it, and I kind of like music that kind of puts me in touch with like my creative side, and kind of that weird little genre always kind of puts me in touch with like a creative side of me. Something like kind of quirky, like kind of eclectic rock sort of stuff kind of gets me fired up in the wood shop.
Oh heck yeah. Oh man, speaking of songs, before we end this episode, speaking of songs that got me fired up, I downloaded that playlist before Moab from Tony Hawk's Underground that has like some classic songs.
Whoa.
And there's a classic bopper. I just forgotten how catchy it was from Kiss, Rock and Roll All Night. And
Oh
every
yeah.
single time that hit, I was just belting that in the middle of the night on day one. Like, just with that little like the drum going gonna rock and roll all night. Like you could not stop singing that, man. That song is a bop.
It is. That's such a damn good song. Yeah, I
Uh,
love that.
that's a classic. And then there's like a band called Jurassic. There's like a hip hop group called Jurassic 5, and there's a song called Day at the Races, which really got me fired up too. That's a good one. Feels like quintessential like 90s hip hop, like West Coast hip hop.
Man, I forgot about Jurassic 5. They were around for a bit and then they were just kind of gone, weren't they? I wonder what. I forgot about Jurassic 5. So thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a throwback.
shout out to my boys from LA, man. That they scream like that NWA like LA hip hop. Like they just have that feel. Like as soon as you hear their music, like the instruments and everything, like kind of reminds me. They kind of have the same energy that Cypress Hill has.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Cypress Hill, being from Southgate, which is also basically Los Angeles area. Shout out to Cypress Hill.
No kidding. Yeah. I actually got to see them live one time. It was pretty good. I think it's like the Cottonmouth Kings in Cypress Hill. That was a long time ago, but it was a pretty good show.
Oh man, that sounds awesome. Well, man, Joe, thank you so much for joining me for this eighth episode. I can't wait for our next installment. And, we're not sure who we're going to bring on yet for our next guest, but it's going to be a hell of a lot of fun. And we're excited to see everybody's song submission. So if you guys didn't catch in the middle of the episode, it is what is your comeback song, or rather, what is your training montage song? You could phrase it either way. We're going to pose that question out there a couple times, and we can't wait to see what your answers are. And also, if you want to catch other shows, be sure to like, rate, comment, and subscribe to the Everyday Athlete Podcast Network. You can find us everywhere you find your podcasts: Apple, Spotify, YouTube. actually also Amazon and iHeartRadio. We actually have a special fireside chat episode coming up just within the hour with Cassandra Burke live. This show will be up on Friday at 3:30 p.m. Pacific time, 6:30 Eastern time. And then we have our regularly scheduled fireside chat program tomorrow at the same time. And Thursday, we've got me and Joe back on stage with Jason and Albie, and we're doing our DNF episode in our comeback episode for Beyond the Finish Line from the IT Trail 100.
Yeah.
And the Moab 240. And all of our grand adventures.
Yeah, awesome.
Joe, thank you so much for joining me on this show, and to everybody else, thank you so much for joining us, and stay tuned because we got another great episode coming up shortly. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your afternoon.
Have a good evening.
Oh, that's true. You're 3 hours ahead of me. I don't know why I keep forgetting that. Man, bye guys.
See ya.